Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 10. I had not been able at first to understand why Captain Carter wanted Miko left at liberty. Within me there was that cry of vengeance, as though to strike Miko down would somehow lessen my own grief. Whatever Carter's purpose, Snap had not known it. But Balch and Dr. Frank were in the captain's confidence, all three of them working on some plan of action. It was obvious that at least two of our passengers were plotting with Miko and George Prince, trying on this voyage to learn what they could about Grantline's activities on the moon, scheming doubtless to seize the treasure when the Planetara stopped at the moon on the return voyage. I thought I could name those masquerading passengers: Obhan, supposedly a Venus mystic, and Rance Rankin, who called himself an American magician. Those two, Snap and I agreed, seemed most suspicious. And there was the purser. I sat for a time on the deck outside the chart room with Snap. Then Carter summoned us back, and we sat listening while he, Balch, and Dr. Frank went on with their conference. Listening to them, I could not but agree that our best plan was to secure evidence which would incriminate all who were concerned in the plot. Miko, we were convinced, had been the Martian who followed Snap and me from Halsey's office in Greater New York. George Prince had doubtless been the invisible eavesdropper outside the radio room. He knew, and had told the others, that Grantline had found that priceless metal on the moon, and that the Planetara would stop there on the way home. But we could not incarcerate George Prince for being an eavesdropper, nor had we the faintest possible evidence against Obhan or Rankin, and even the purser would probably be released by the interplanetary court of Ferrok-Shahn when it heard our evidence. There was only Miko. We could arrest him for the murder of Anita, but if we did that now, the others would be put on their guard. It was Carter's idea to let Miko remain at liberty for a time and see if we could identify and incriminate his fellows. The murder of Anita obviously had nothing to do with any plot against Grantline moon treasure. "Why," exclaimed Balch, "there might be, probably are, huge Martian interests concerned with this thing. These men aboard are only emissaries, making this voyage to learn what they can. When they get to Ferrok-Shahn, they'll make their report, and then we'll have a real danger on our hands. Why, an outlaw ship could be launched from Ferrok-Shahn that would beat us back to the moon. And Grantline is entirely without warning of any danger." It seemed obvious. Unscrupulous criminals in Ferrok-Shahn would be dangerous indeed once these details of Grantline were given them. So now it was decided that in the remaining 9 days of our outward voyage, we would attempt to secure enough evidence to arrest all these plotters. "I'll have them all in the cage when we land," declared Carter grimly. "They'll make no report to their principals." The futile plans of men. Yet, at the time, we thought it practical. We were all doubly armed now: bullet projectors and heat ray cylinders. And we had several eavesdropping microphones which we planned to use whenever occasion offered. Only 28 hours of this eventful voyage had passed. The Planetara was some 6 million miles from Earth. It blazed behind us, a tremendous giant. The body of Anita was being made ready for burial. George Prince was still in his stateroom. Glutz, effeminate little hairdresser, who waxed rich acting as beauty doctor for the women passengers, and who, in his youth, had been an undertaker, had gone with Dr. Frank to prepare the body. Gruesome details. I tried not to think of them. I sat, numbed, in the chart room. An astronomical burial, There was little precedent for it. I dragged myself to the stern deck where, at 5 a.m., the ceremony took place. We were a solemn little group, gathered there in the checkered starlight, with the great vault of the heavens around us. A dismantled electronic projector, necessary when a long-range gun was mounted, had been rigged up in one of the deck ports. They brought out the body. I stood apart, gazing reluctantly at the small bundle, wrapped like a mummy in a dark metallic screen cloth. A patch of black silk rested over her face. 4 cabin stewards carried her, and beside her walked George Prince. A long black robe covered him, but his head was bare, and suddenly he reminded me of the ancient play character of Hamlet. His black, wavy hair, his finely chiseled, pallid face, set now in a stern patrician cast. And staring, I realized that however much of the villain this man might be, at this instant, walking beside the body of his dead sister, he was stricken with grief. He loved that sister with whom he had lived since childhood, and to see him now, no one could doubt it. The little procession stopped in a patch of starlight by the port. They rested the body on a bank of chairs. The black-robed chaplain, roused from his bed and still trembling from the excitement of this sudden, inexplicable death on board, said a brief, solemn little prayer. An appeal that the almighty ruler of all these blazing worlds might guard the soul of this gentle girl, whose mortal remains were now to be returned to him. Ah, if ever God seemed hovering close, it was now, at this instant, on this starlit deck floating in the black void of space. Then Carter, for just a moment, removed the black shroud from her face. I saw her brother gaze silently, saw him stoop and implant a kiss, and turn away. I did not want to look, but I found myself moving slowly forward. She lay so beautiful, her face white and calm and peaceful in death. My sight blurred. "Easy, Gregg," Snap was whispering to me. He had his arm around me. "Come on away." They tied the shroud over her face. I did not see them as they put the body in the tube, sent it through the exhaust chamber, and dropped it. But a moment later I saw it, a small, black, oblong bundle hovering beside us. It was perhaps 100 feet away, circling us. Held by the Planetara's bulk, it had momentarily become our satellite. It swung around us like a moon. Gruesome satellite, by nature's laws forever to follow us. Then, from another tube at the bow, Blackstone operated a small Z-Co ray projector. Its dull light caught the floating bundle, neutralizing its metallic wrappings. It swung off at a tangent, speeding, falling free in the dome of the heavens, a rotating black oblong. But in a moment, distance dwindled it to a speck, a dull silver dot with the sunlight on it, a speck of human earth dust, falling free. It vanished. Anita. Gone. End of Chapter 10.
Chapter 11 of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Richard Kilmer. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 11. I turned from the deck. Miko was near me. So he had dared show himself here among us. But I realized he could not be aware we knew that he was the murderer. George Prince had been asleep, had not seen Miko with Anita. Miko, with impulsive rage, had shot the girl and escaped. No doubt now he was cursing himself for having done it. And he could very well assume that Anita had died without regaining consciousness to tell who had killed her. He gazed at me now. I thought for an instant he was coming over to talk with me. Though he probably considered he was not suspected of the murder of Anita, he realized of course that his attack on me was known. He must have wondered what action would be taken. But he did not approach me. He moved away and went inside. Moa had been near him, and as though by prearrangement with him, she now accosted me. "I want to speak with you, Set Haljan." "Go ahead." I felt an instinctive aversion to this Martian girl. Yet she was not unattractive. Over 6 feet tall, straight and slim, sleek blonde hair. Rather a handsome face. Not gray like the burly Miko, but pink and white. Stern-lipped, but feminine too. She was smiling gravely now. Her blue eyes regarded me keenly. She said gently, "A sad occurrence, Gregg Haljan, and mysterious. I would not question you." "Is that all you have to say?" I demanded. "No. You are a handsome man, Gregg, attractive to women, to any Martian woman." She said it impulsively. Admiration for me was on her face, in her eyes. A man cannot miss it. "Thank you." "I mean, I would be your friend. My brother Miko is so sorry about what happened between you and him this morning. He only wanted to talk to you, and he came to your cubby door—" "With a torch to break its seal," I interjected. She waved that away. "He was afraid you would not admit him. He told you he would not harm you." "And so he struck me with one of your Martian paralyzing rays?" "He is sorry." She seemed gauging me, trying, no doubt, to find out what reprisal would be taken against her brother. I felt sure that Moa was as active as a man in any plan that was under way to capture the Grantline treasure. Miko, with his ungovernable temper, was doing things that put their plans in jeopardy. I demanded, "What did your brother want to talk to me about?" "Me," she said surprisingly. "I sent him. A Martian girl goes after what she wants. Did you know that?" She swung on her heel and left me. I puzzled over it. Was that why Miko struck me down and was carrying me off? I did not think so. I could not believe that all these incidents were so unrelated to what I knew was the main undercurrent. They wanted me, had tried to capture me for something else. Dr. Frank found me mooning alone. "Go to bed, Gregg. You look awful." "I don't want to go to bed." "Where's Snap?" "I don't know. He was here a little while ago. I had not seen him since the burial of Anita." "The captain wants him," he said. Within an hour the morning siren would arouse the passengers. I was seated in a secluded corner of the deck when George Prince came along. He went past me, a slight, somber, dark-robed figure. He had on high, thick boots. A hood was over his head, but as he saw me he pushed it back and dropped down beside me. For a moment he did not speak. His face showed pallid in the dim starlight. "She said you loved her." His soft voice was throaty with emotion. "Yes," I said it almost against my will. There seemed a bond springing between this bereaved brother and me. He added so softly I could barely hear him, "That makes you, I think, almost my friend. And you thought you were my enemy." I held my answer. An incautious tongue running under emotion is a dangerous thing, and I was sure of nothing. He went on, "Almost my friend, because we both loved her and she loved us both." He was hardly more than whispering. "And there is on board one whom we both hate." "Miko," it burst from me. "Yes, but do not say it." Another silence fell between us. He brushed back the black curls from his forehead. "Have you an eavesdropping microphone, Haljan?" I hesitated. "Yes." "I was thinking," he leaned closer, "if, in half an hour, you could use it upon Miko's cabin. I would rather tell you than anyone else. The cabin will be insulated, but I shall find a way of cutting off that insulation so that you can hear." So George Prince had turned with us. The shock of his sister's death, himself allied with her murderer, had been too much for him. He was with us. Yet his help must be given secretly. Miko would kill him instantly if it became known. He had been watchful of the deck. He stood up now. "I think that is all." As he turned away, I murmured, "But I do thank you." The name Set Miko glowed upon the door. It was in a transverse corridor similar to A22. The corridor was forward of the lounge. It opened off the small circular library. The library was unoccupied and unlighted, dim with only the reflected lights from the nearby passages. I crouched behind a cylinder case. The door of Miko's room was in sight. I waited perhaps 5 minutes. No one entered. Then I realized that doubtless the conspirators were already there. I set my tiny eavesdropper on the library floor beside me, connected its little battery, focused its projector. Was Miko's room insulated? I could not tell. There was a small ventilating grid above the door. Across its opening, if the room was insulated, a blue sheen of radiance would be showing, and there would be a faint hum. But from this distance I could not see or hear such details, and I was afraid to approach closer. Once in the transverse corridor, I would have no place to hide, no way of escape. If anyone approached Miko's door, I would be trapped. I threw the current into my apparatus. I prayed, if it met interference, that slight sound would pass unnoticed. George Prince had said that he would make opportunity to disconnect the room's insulation. He had evidently done so. I picked up the interior sounds at once. My headphone vibrated with them, and with trembling fingers on the little dial between my knees as I crouched in the darkness behind the cylinder case, I synchronized. "Johnson is a fool." It was Miko's voice. "We must have the passwords." "He got them from the radio room." A man's voice. I puzzled over it at first, then recognized it. Rance Rankin. Miko said, "He is a fool, walking around this ship as though with letters blazoned on his forehead, 'Watch me, I need watching.' Ha! No wonder they apprehended him." Rankin's voice said, "He would have turned the papers over to us. I would not blame him too much. What harm?" "Oh, I'll release him," Miko declared. "What harm? The brain ass did us plenty of harm. He has lost the passwords. Better he had left them in the radio room." Moa was in the room. Her voice said, "We've got to have them. The Planetara, upon such an important voyage as this, might be watched." "No doubt it is," Rankin said quietly. "We ought to have the passwords. When we are in control of this ship." It sent a shiver through me. Were they planning to try and seize the Planetara? Now? It seemed so. "Johnson undoubtedly memorized them," Moa was saying. "When we get him out—" "Hahn is to do that, at the signal," Miko added. "George could do it better, perhaps." And then I heard George Prince for the first time. "I'll try." "No need," Miko said unexpectedly. I could not see what had happened. A look, perhaps, which Prince could not avoid giving this man he had come to hate. Miko doubtless saw it, and the Martian's hot anger leaped. Rankin said hurriedly, "Stop that!" And Moa, "Let him alone, you fool. Sit down." I could hear the sound of a scuffle, a blow, a cry, half suppressed, from George Prince. Then Miko, "I will not hurt him, craven coward. Look at him, hating me, frightened." I could fancy George Prince sitting there with murder in his heart, and Miko taunting him. Hates me now because I shot his sister." Moa, "Hush." "I will not. Why should I not say it? I will tell you something else, George Prince. It was not Anita I shot at, but you. I meant nothing for her but love. If you had not interfered—" This was different from what we had figured. George Prince had come in from his own room, had tried to rescue his sister, and in the scuffle Anita had taken the shot instead of George. "I did not even know I had hit her," Miko was saying. "Not until I heard she was dead," he added sardonically. "I hoped it was you I had hit, George. And I will tell you this: you hate me no more than I hate you. If it were not for your knowledge of ores—" "Is this to be a personal wrangle?" Rankin interrupted. "I thought we were here to plan." "It is planned," Miko said shortly. "I give orders. I do not plan. I am waiting now for the moment—" He checked himself. Moa said, "Does Rankin understand that no harm is to come to Gregg Haljan?" "Yes," Rankin said. "And Dean. We need them, of course. But you cannot make Dean send messages if he refuses, nor make Haljan navigate." "I know enough to check on them," Miko said grimly. "They will not fool me. And they will obey me, have no fear. A little touch of the sulphuric—" His laugh was gruesome. "It makes the most stubborn very willing." "I wish," said Moa, "we had Haljan safely hidden. If he is hurt, killed—" So that was why Miko had tried to capture me, to keep me safe, so that I might navigate the ship. It occurred to me that I should get Carter at once. A plot to seize the Planetara? But when? I froze with startled horror. The diaphragms at my ears rang with Miko's words. "I have set the time for now. 2 minutes." It seemed to startle Rankin and George Prince as much as it did me. Both exclaimed, "No!" "No? Why not? Everyone is at his post." Prince repeated, "No!" And Rankin, "But can we trust them? The stewards, the crew?" "8 of them are our own men. You didn't know that, Rankin. They've been aboard the Planetara for several voyages. Oh, this is no quickly planned affair, even though we let you in on it so recently. You and Johnson. By God!" There was a commotion in the stateroom. I crouched, tense. Miko had discovered that his insulation had been cut off. He had evidently leaped to his feet. I heard a chair overturn, and the Martian's roar. "It's off! Did you do that, Prince? By God, if I thought—" My apparatus went suddenly dead as Miko flung on his insulation. I lost my wits in the confusion. I should have instantly taken off my vibrations. There was interference. It showed in the dark space of the ventilating grid over Miko's doorway. A snapping in the air there, a swirl of sparks. I heard with my unaided ears Miko's roar over his insulation. "By God, they're listening!" The scream of hand sirens sounded from his stateroom. It rang over the ship, his signal. I heard it answered from some distant point, and then a shot, a commotion in the lower corridors. The attack upon the Planetara had begun. I was on my feet. The shouts of startled passengers sounded, a turmoil beginning everywhere. I stood momentarily transfixed. The door of Miko's stateroom burst open. He stood there with Rankin, Moa, and George Prince crowding him. He saw me. "You, Gregg Haljan!" He came leaping at me. End of chapter 11. Recording by Richard Kilmer, Rio Medina, Texas. Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Richard Kilmer. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 12. I was taken wholly by surprise. There was an instant when I stood numbed, fumbling for a weapon at my belt, undecided whether to run or stand my ground. Miko was no more than 20 feet from me. He checked his forward rush. The light from an overhead tube was on him. I saw in his hand the cylinder projector of his paralyzing ray.
I plucked my heat cylinder from my belt and fired without taking aim. My tiny heat beam flashed. It must have grazed Miko's hand. His roar of anger and pain rang out over the turmoil. He dropped his weapon, then stooped to pick it up. But Moa forestalled him. She leaped and seized it. "Careful, you fool! You promised not to harm him!" A confusion of swift action. Rankin had turned and darted away. I saw George Prince stumbling half in front of the struggling Miko and Moa. And I heard footsteps beside me. A hand gripped me, jerked at me. Over the turmoil, Prince's voice sounded. "Gregg Haljan!" I recall I had the impression that Prince was frightened. He had half fallen in front of Miko. And there was Miko's voice. "Let go of me!" It was Balch gripping me. "Gregg, this way, run! Get out of here! He'll kill you with that ray!" Miko's ray flashed, but George Prince had knocked his arm. I did not dare to fire again. Prince was in the way. Balch, who was unarmed, shoved me violently back. "Gregg, the chart room!" I turned and ran, with Balch after me. Prince had fallen or been felled by Miko. A flash followed me from Miko's weapon, but again it missed. He did not pursue me. Instead, he ran the other way, through the portside door of the library. Balch and I found ourselves in the library. Shouting, frightened passengers were everywhere. The place was in wild confusion, the whole ship ringing now with shouts. "To the chart room, Gregg!" I called to the passengers, "Get back to your rooms!" I followed Balch. We ran through the archway to the deck. In the starlight, I saw figures scurrying aft, but none were near us. The deck forward was dim with heavy shadows. The oval windows and door of the chart room were blue-yellow from the tube lights inside. No one seemed on deck there. And then as we approached, I saw further forward in the bow the trap door to the cage standing open. Johnson had been released. From one of the chart room windows a heat ray sizzled. It barely missed us. Balch shouted, "Carter, don't!" The captain called, "Oh, you, Balch, and Haljan!" He came out on the deck as we rushed up. His left arm was dangling, limp. "God, this..." He got no further. From the turret overhead a tiny search beam came down and disclosed us. Blackstone was supposed to be on duty up there, with the course master at the controls. But glancing up, I saw, illuminated by the turret lights, the figure of Ob Hahn in his purple-white robe, and Johnson the purser. And on the turret balcony 2 fallen men, Blackstone and the course master. Johnson was training the spotlight on us, and Hahn fired a Martian ray. It struck Balch beside me. He dropped. Carter was shouting, "Inside, Gregg! Get inside!" I stopped to raise up Balch. Another beam came down, a heat ray this time. It caught the fallen Balch full on the chest, piercing him through. The smell of his burning flesh rose to sicken me. He was dead. I dropped his body. Carter shoved me into the chart room. In the small, steel-lined room, Carter and I slid the door closed. We were alone here. The thing had come so quickly it had taken Captain Carter, like us all, wholly unawares. We had anticipated spying eavesdroppers, but not this open brigandage. No more than a minute or two had passed since Miko's siren in his stateroom had given the signal for attack. Carter had been in the chart room. Blackstone was in the turret. At the outbreak of confusion, Carter dashed out to see Hahn releasing Johnson from the cage. From the forward chart room window now I could see where Hahn, with a torch, had broken the cage seal. The torch lay on the deck. There had been an exchange of shots. Carter's arm was paralyzed. Johnson and Hahn had escaped. Carter was as confused as I. There had simultaneously been an encounter up in the turret. Blackstone and the course master were killed. The lookout had been shot from his post in the forward observatory. The body dangled now, twisted half in and half out the window. We could see several of Miko's men, erstwhile members of our crew and steward corps, scurrying from the turret along the upper bridge toward the dark and silent radio room. Snap was up there, but was he? The radio room glowed suddenly with dim light, but there was no evidence of a fight there. The fighting seemed mostly below the deck, down in the hull corridors. A blended horror of sounds came up to us, screams, shouts, and the hissing and snapping of ray weapons. Our crew, such of them as were loyal, were making a stand below. But it was brief. Within a minute it died away. The passengers amidships in the superstructure were still shouting. Then above them Miko's roar sounded. "Be quiet! Go into your rooms! You will not be harmed!" The brigands, in these few minutes, were in control of the ship. All but this little chart room, where, with most of the ship's weapons, Carter and I were entrenched. God, Gregg, that this should come upon us. Carter was fumbling with the chart room weapons. "Here, Gregg. Help me. What have you got? Heat ray?" That's all I had ready. It struck me then, as I helped him make the connections, that Carter, in this crisis, was at best an inefficient commander. His red face had gone splotchy purple, his hands were trembling. Skilled as a captain of a peaceful liner, he was at a loss now. But I could not blame him. It was easy to say we might have taken warning, done this or that, and come triumphant through the attack. But only the fool looks backwards and says, "I would have done better." I tried to summon my wits. The ship was lost to us, unless Carter and I could do something. Our futile weapons, they were all here, 4 or 5 heat ray hand projectors that could send a pencil ray 100 feet or so. I shot one diagonally up at the turret where Johnson was leering down at our rear window, but he saw my gesture and dropped back out of sight. The heat beam flashed harmlessly up and struck the turret room. Then across the turret window came a sheen of radiance, an electro barrage, and behind it Han's suave, evil face appeared. He shouted down, "We have orders to spare you, Gregg Haljan, or you would have been killed long ago." My answering shot hit his barrage with a shower of sparks, behind which he stood unmoved. Carter handed me another weapon. "Gregg, try this." I leveled the old explosive projector. Carter crouched beside me. But before I could press the trigger, from somewhere down the starlit deck, an electro beam hit me. The little rifle exploded, broke its breech. I sank back on the floor, tingling from the shock of the hostile current. My hands were blackened from the exploded powder. Carter seized me. "No use. Hurt?" "No." The stars through the dome windows were swinging, a long swing. The shadows and patterns on the starlit deck were all shifting. The Planetara was turning. The heavens revolved in a great round sweep of movement, then settled as we took our new course. Han at the turret controls had swung us. The Earth and the sun showed over our bow quarter. The sunlight mingled red-yellow with the brilliant starlight. Han's signals were sounding. I heard them answered from the mechanism room down below. Brigands there in full control. The gravity plates were being set to the new positions. We were on our new course, headed a point or two off the Earth line. Not headed for the moon? I wondered. Carter and I were planning nothing. What was there to plan? We were under observation. A Martian paralyzing ray, or an electronic beam far more deadly than our own puny weapons, would have struck us the instant we tried to leave the chart room. My thoughts were interrupted by a shout from down the deck. At a corner of the cabin superstructure, some 50 feet from our windows, the figure of Miko appeared. A radiance barrage hung about him like a shimmering mantle. His voice sounded, "Gregg Haljan, do you yield?" Carter leaped up from where he and I were crouching. Against all reason of safety, he leaned from the low window, waving his ham-like fist. "Yield? No, I am in command here, you pirate, brigand, murderer!" I dragged him back sharply. "For God's sakes!" He was sputtering, and over it Miko's sardonic laugh sounded. "Shall we argue about it?" I stood up. "What do you want to say, Miko?" Behind him the tall, thin figure of his sister showed. She was plucking at him. He turned violently. "I won't harm him. Gregg Haljan, is this a truce?" "You will not shoot?" He was shielding Moa. "No," I called. "For a moment, no. A truce. What is it you want to say?" I could hear the babble of passengers who were herded in the cabin with brigands guarding them. George Prince, bareheaded but shrouded in his cloak, showed in a patch of light behind Moa. He looked my way and then retreated. Miko called, "You must yield. We want you, Haljan." "No doubt," I jeered. "Alive, it's easy to kill you." I could not doubt that. Carter and I were little more than rats in a trap. But Miko wanted to take me alive. That was not so simple. He added persuasively, "We want you to navigate us. Will you?" "No." "Will you help us, Captain Carter? Tell your cub, this Haljan, to yield." Carter roared, "Get back from there. There is no truce." I shoved aside his leveled projector. "Wait a minute. Miko? Navigate where?" "That is our business. When you come out here, I will give you the course." I realized that all this parley was a ruse of Miko's to take me alive. He had made a gesture. Hahn, watching him from the turret window, doubtless flashed a signal down to the hull corridors. The magnetizer control under the chart room was altered. Our artificial gravity cut off. I felt the sudden lightness. I gripped the window casement and clung. Carter was startled to incautious movement. It flung him out into the room, his arms and legs flailing. And across the chart room in the opposite window, I felt rather than saw the shape of something. A figure, almost invisible but not quite, was trying to climb in. I flung the empty rifle I was holding. It hit something solid in the window. In the flare of sparks, a black hooded figure materialized. A man climbing in. His weapon spat. There was a tiny electronic flash, deadly silent. The intruder had shot at Carter, struck him. Carter gave one queer scream. He had floated to the floor. His convulsive movement when he was hit hurled him to the ceiling. His body struck, twitched, bounced back and sank inert on the floor grid, almost at my feet. I clung to the casement. Across the room of the weightless room, the hooded intruder was also clinging. His hood fell back. It was Johnson. "Killed him, the bully. Now for you, Mr. Third Officer Haljan." But he did not dare fire at me. Miko had forbidden it. I saw him reach under his robe, doubtless for a low-powered paralyzing ray. But he never got it out. I had no weapon within reach. I leaned into the room, still holding the casement, and doubled my legs under me. I kicked out from the window. The force catapulted me across the space, across the room like a volplane. I struck the purser. We gripped. Our locked, struggling bodies bounced out into the room. We struck the floor, surged up like balloons to the ceiling, struck it with a flailing arm or leg, and floated back. Grotesque, abnormal combat, like fighting in weightless water. Johnson clutched his weapon, but I twisted his wrist, held his arm outstretched so that he could not aim it. I was aware of Miko's voice shouting on the deck outside. Johnson's left hand was gouging at my face, his fingers digging at my eyes. We lunged down. I twisted his wrists. He dropped the weapon and it sank away. I tried to reach it but could not. Then I had him by the throat. I was stronger than he and more agile. I tried choking him. I had his thick bull neck within my fingers. He kicked, scrambled, tore and gouged at me. Tried to shout, but it ended in a gurgle. And then, as he felt his breath stopped, his hands came up in an effort to tear mine loose. We sank again to the floor. We were momentarily upright. I felt my feet touch. I bent my knees. We sank further. And then I kicked violently upward. Our locked bodies shot to the ceiling. Johnson's head was above me. It struck the steel roof of the chart room, a violent blow. I felt him go suddenly limp. I cast him off, and doubling my body, I kicked at the ceiling. It sent me diagonally downward to the window where I clung. And I saw Miko standing on the deck with a weapon leveled at me. End of chapter 12. Recording by Richard Kilmer, Rio Medina, Texas. Chapter 13 of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Richard Kilmer. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 13. Haljan, yield or I'll fire. Moa, Give me the smaller one." He had in his hand too large a projector. Its ray would kill me. If he wanted to take me alive, he would not fire. I chanced it. No! I tried to draw myself beneath the window. An automatic projector was on the floor where Carter had dropped it. I pulled myself down. Miko did not fire. I reached the weapon. The bodies of the captain and Johnson had drifted together on the floor in the center of the room. I hitched myself back to the window. With upraised weapon, I gazed cautiously out. Miko had disappeared. The deck within my line of vision was empty. But was it? Something told me to beware. I clung to the casement, ready upon the instant to shove myself down. There was a movement in a shadow along the deck. Then a figure rose up. "Don't fire, Haljan." The sharp command, half appeal, stopped the pressure of my finger. It was the tall, lanky Englishman, Sir Arthur Coniston, as he called himself. So he too was one of Miko's band. The light through a dome window fell full upon him. "If you fire, Haljan, and kill me, Miko will kill you then, surely." From where he had been crouching, he could not command my window. But now, upon the heels of his placating words, he abruptly shot. The low-powered ray, had it struck, would have felled me without killing me. But it went over my head as I dropped. Its aura made my senses reel. Coniston shouted, "Haljan!" I did not answer. I wondered if he would dare approach to see if I had been hit. A minute passed, then another. I thought I heard Miko's voice on the deck outside. But it was an aerial, microscopic whisper close beside me. "We see you, Haljan. You must yield." Their eavesdropping vibrations with audible projection were upon me. I retorted loudly, "Come and get me. You cannot take me alive." I do protest if this action of mine in the chart room may seem bravado. I had no wish to die. There was within me a very healthy desire for life. But I felt by holding out that some chance might come wherewith I might turn events against these brigands. Yet reason told me it was hopeless. Our loyal members of the crew were killed, no doubt. Captain Carter and Balch were dead. The lookouts and course masters also, and Blackstone. There remained only Dr. Frank and Snap. Their fate I did not yet know. And there was George Prince. He perhaps would help me if he could. But at best he was a dubious ally. "You are very foolish, Haljan," murmured Miko's voice. And then I heard Coniston. "See here. Why would not 100 pounds of gold leaf tempt you?" The code words which were taken from Johnson. "I mean to say, why not tell us where they are?" So that was one of the brigands' new difficulties. Snap had taken the code word sheet that time we sealed the purser in the cage. I said, "You'll never find them. And when a police ship sights us, what will you do then?" The chances of a police ship were slight indeed, but the brigands evidently did not know that. I wondered again what had become of Snap. Was he captured, or still holding them off? I was watching my windows, for at any moment, under the cover of talk, I might be assailed. Gravity came suddenly to the room. Miko's voice said, "We mean well by you, Haljan. There is your normality. Join us. We need you to chart our course." "And 100 pounds of gold leaf," urged Coniston, "or more. Why, this treasure—" I could hear an oath from Miko, and then his ironic voice. "We will not bother you, Haljan. There is no hurry. You will be hungry in good time, and sleepy. Then we will come and get you. And a little acid will help you to think differently about us." His vibrations died away. The pull of gravity in the room was normal. I was alone in the dim silence, with the bodies of Carter and Johnson huddled on the grid. I bent to examine them. Both were dead. My isolation was not ruse this time. The outlaws made no further attack. Half an hour passed. The deck outside, what I could see of it, was vacant. Balch lay dead close outside the chart room door. The bodies of Blackstone and the course master had been removed from the turret window. As a forward lookout, One of Miko's men was on duty in the nearby tower. Hahn was at the turret's controls. The ship was under orderly handling, heading back upon a new course. For the Earth? The Moon? It did not seem so. I found, in the chart room, a Benson curve light projector which poor Captain Carter had nearly assembled. I worked on it, trained it through my rear window along the empty deck, bent it into the lounge archway. Upon my grid, the image of the lounge interior presently focused. The passengers in the lounge were huddled in a group, disheveled, frightened, with Moa standing watching them. Stewards were serving them with a meal. Upon a bench, bodies were lying. Some were dead. I saw Rance Rankin. Others were evidently only injured. Dr. Frank was moving among them, attending them. Venza was there unharmed, and I saw the gamblers, Shack and Dud, sitting white-faced, whispering together, and Glutz's little beribboned, becurled figure on a stool. George Prince was there, standing against the wall, shrouded in his mourning cloak, watching the scene with alert, roving eyes. And by the opposite doorway, the huge, towering figure of Miko stood on guard. But Snap was missing. A brief glimpse. Miko saw my Benson light. I could have equipped a heat ray and fired along the curved Benson light into that lounge, but Miko gave me no time. He slid the lounge door closed, and Moa leaped to close the one on my side. My grid showed only the blank deck and door. Another interval. I had made plans, futile plans. I could get into the turret, perhaps, and kill Hahn. I had the invisible cloak which Johnson was wearing. I took it from his body. Its mechanism could be repaired. Why, with it, I could creep about the ship, kill these brigands one by one, perhaps. George Prince would be with me. The brigands, who had been posing as the stewards and crew members, were unable to navigate. They would obey my orders. There were only Miko, Coniston, and Hahn to kill. From my window, I could gaze up to the radio room. And now, abruptly, I heard Snap's voice. "No, I tell you, no!" And Miko, "Very well then, we'll try this." So Snap was captured but not killed. Relief swept me. He was in the radio room and Miko was with him. But my relief was short-lived. After a brief interval, there came a moan from Snap. It floated down the silence overhead and made me shudder. My Benson beam shot into the radio room. It showed me Snap lying there on the floor. He was bound with wire. His torso had been stripped. His livid face was ghastly plain in my sight. Miko was bending over him. Miko with a heat cylinder no longer than a finger. Its needle beam played upon Snap's naked chest. I could see the gruesome little trail of smoke rising, and as Snap twisted and jerked, there on his flesh was the red and blistered trail of the violet ray. "Now will you tell?" "No." Miko laughed. "No? Then I shall write my name a little deeper. A black sear now, a trail etched in the quivering flesh." "Oh!" Snap's face went white as chalk as he pressed his lips together. "Or a little acid. This fire writing does not really hurt. Tell me what you did with those code words." "No." In his absorption, Miko did not notice my light. Nor did I have the wit to try and fire along it. I was trembling. Snap under torture. As the beam went deeper, Snap suddenly screamed, but he ended, "No, I will send no message for you." It had been only a moment. In the chart room window beside me again a figure appeared. No image. A solid, living person, undisguised by any cloak of invisibility. George Prince had chanced my fire and crept upon me. "Haljan, don't attack me." I dropped my light connections. As impulsively I stood up, I saw through the window the figure of Coniston on the deck, watching the result of Prince's venture. "Haljan, yield." Prince no more than whispered it. He stood outside on the deck. The low window casement touched his waist. He leaned over it. "He's torturing Snap. Call out that you will yield." The thought had already been in my mind. Another scream from Snap filled me with horror. I shouted, "Miko, stop!" I rushed to the window and Prince gripped me. Louder! I called louder, "Miko, stop!" My upflung voice mingled with Snap's agony of protest. Then Miko heard me. His head and shoulders showed up there at the radio room oval. "You, Haljan!" Prince shouted, "I have made him yield. He will obey you if you stop that torture." I think that poor Snap must have fainted. He was silent. I called, "Stop! I will do what you command." Miko jeered. "That's good. A bargain. If you and Dean obey me... Disarm him, Prince, and bring him out." Miko moved back into the radio room. On the deck, Coniston was advancing, but cautiously mistrustful of me. "Gregg?" George Prince flung a leg over the casement and leaped lightly into the dim chart room. His small, slender figure stood beside me, clung to me. A moment while we stood there together. No ray was upon us. Coniston could not see us, nor could he hear our whispers. "Gregg?" A different voice, its throaty, husky quality gone. A soft, pleading, "Gregg, Gregg, don't you know me? Gregg, dear." Why? What was this? Not George Prince. A masquerader, yet so like George Prince. "Gregg, don't you know me?" Clinging to me, a soft touch upon my arm. Fingers clinging, a surge of warm, tingling current was flowing between us. My sweep of instant thoughts. A speck of human earth dust falling free. That was George Prince who had been killed. George Prince's body. Disguised by this scheming Carter and Dr. Frank. Buried in the guise of his sister and this black-robed figure who was trying to help me. Anita. Anita, darling. "Gregg, dear one." Anita. My arms went around her, my lips pressed hers, and felt her tremulous, eager answer. The form of Coniston showed at our window. She cast me off. She said, with her throaty swagger of amused masculinity, "I have him, Sir Arthur. He will obey us." I sensed her warning glance. She shoved me toward the window. She said ironically, "Have no fear, Haljan. You will not be tortured, you and Dean, if you obey our commands." Coniston gripped me. "You fool. You cause us a lot of trouble. Move along there." He jerked me roughly through the window, marched me the length of the deck, out to the stern space, opened the door of my cubby, flung me in, and sealed the door upon me. "Miko will come presently." I stood in the darkness of my tiny room, listening to his retreating footsteps, but my mind was not upon him. All the universe in that instant had changed for me. Anita was alive. End of chapter 13. Recording by Richard Kilmer, Rio Medina, Texas.
Chapter 14 of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are available in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Bob LeDrew. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 14. The giant Miko stood confronting me. He slid my cubby door closed behind him. He stood with his head towering close against my ceiling. His cloak was discarded. In his leather clothes and with his clanking sword ornament, his aspect carried the swagger of a brigand of old. He was bareheaded. The light from one of my tubes fell upon his grinning, leering gray face. "So, Gregg Haljan, you have come to your senses at last. You did not wish me to write my name on your chest? I would not have done that to Dean. He forced me. Sit back." I had been on my bunk. I sank back at the gesture of his huge, hairy arm. His forearm was bare now. The sear of a burn on it was plain to be seen. He remarked my gaze. "True, you did that, Haljan, in Greater New York. But I bear you no malice. I want to talk to you now." He cast about for a seat and took the little stool which stood by my desk. His hand held a small cylinder of the Martian paralyzing ray. He rested it beside him on the desk. "Now we can talk." I remained silent, alert. Yet my thoughts were whirling. Anita was alive, masquerading as her brother, and with the joy of it came a shudder. Above everything, Miko must not know. "A great adventure we are upon, Haljan." My thoughts came back. Miko was talking with an assumption of friendly comradeship. "All is well, and we need you, as I have said before. I'm no fool. I've been aware of everything that went on aboard this ship. You, of all the officers, are the most clever at the routine mathematics. Is that so?" "Perhaps." "You are modest." He fumbled at a pocket of his jacket and produced a scroll sheaf. I recognized it. Blackstone's figures. The calculation Blackstone made of the asteroid we had passed. "I am interested in these," Miko went on. "I want you to verify them. And this." He held up another scroll. "This is the calculation of our present position and our course. Han claims he is a navigator. We have set the ship's gravity plates. See, like this." He handed me the scrolls. He watched me keenly as I glanced over them. "Well," I said. "You are sparing of words, Haljan. By the devils of the airways, I could make you talk. But I want to be friendly." I handed him back the scrolls. I stood up. I was almost within reach of his weapon, but with a sweep of his great arm, he knocked me back to my bunk. "You dare!" Then he smiled. "Let us not come to blows." In truth, physical violence could get me nothing. I would have to try guile. And I saw now that his face was flushed and his eyes unnaturally bright. He had been drinking alkalite, not enough to befuddle him, but enough to make him triumphantly talkative. "Han may not be much of a mathematician," I suggested. "But there is your Sir Arthur Coniston." I managed a sarcastic grin. "Is that his name?" "Almost. Haljan, will you verify these figures?" "Yes. But why? Where are we going?" He laughed. "You are afraid I will not tell you. Why should I? This great adventure of mine is progressing perfectly. A tremendous stake, Haljan. $100 million in gold leaf. There will be fabulous riches for all of us." "But where are we going?" "To that asteroid," he said. "I must get rid of these passengers. I am no murderer." With a half-dozen killings in the recent fight, this was hardly convincing, but he was obviously wholly serious. He seemed to read my thoughts. "I kill only when necessary. We will land upon the asteroid, a perfect place to maroon the passengers. Is it not so? I will give them the necessities of life. They will be able to signal, and in a month or so, when we are perfectly safe and finished with our adventure, a police ship no doubt will rescue them. And then from the asteroid," I suggested, "we are going—" "To the moon, Haljan. What a clever guesser you are. Coniston and Han are calculating our course, but I have no great confidence in them, and so I want you." "You have me." "Yes, I have you. I would have killed you long ago. I am an impulsive fellow, but my sister restrained me." He gazed at me slyly. "Moa seems strangely to like you, Haljan." "Thanks," I said. "I'm flattered." "She still hopes I may really win you to join us," he went on. "Gold leaf is a wonderful thing. There would be plenty for you in this affair. And to be rich, and have the love of a woman like Moa." He paused. I was trying cautiously to gauge him, to get from him all the information I could. I said, with another smile, "That is premature to talk of Moa. I will help you chart your course, but this venture, as you call it, is dangerous. A police ship—" "There are not many," he declared. "The chances of our encountering one are very slim." He grinned at me. "You know that as well as I do." "And we now have those code passwords. I forced Dean to tell me where we had hidden them." "And we now have those code passwords. I forced Dean to tell me where he had hidden them. If we should be challenged, our password answer will relieve suspicion." "The Planetara," I objected. "Being overdue at Ferrok-Shan will cause alarm. You'll have a covey of patrol ships after you." "That will be 2 weeks from now," he smiled. "I have a ship of my own in Ferrok-Shan. It lies there waiting now, manned and armed. I'm hoping that with Dean's help we may be able to flash them a signal. It will join us on the moon. Fear not for the danger, Haljan. I have great interests allied with me in this thing. Plenty of money. We have planned carefully." He was idly fingering his cylinder. He gazed at me as I sat docile on my bunk. "Did you think George Prince was a leader of this? A mere boy. I engaged him a year ago. His knowledge of science is valuable to us." My heart was pounding, but I strove not to show it. He went on calmly. "I told you I am impulsive. 6 times I've nearly killed George Prince, and he knows it." He frowned. "I wish I'd killed him instead of his sister. That was an error." There was a note of real concern in his voice. He added, That is done. Nothing can change it. George Prince is helpful to me. Your friend Dean is another. I had trouble with him, but he is docile now." I said abruptly, "I don't know whether your promise means anything or not, Miko, but Prince said you would use no more torture." "I wouldn't. Not if you and Dean obey me." "You tell Dean I've agreed to that. You say he gave you the code words he took from Johnson?" "Yes, there was a fool for you. That Johnson. You blame me, Haljan, for the death of Carter? You need not. Johnson offered to try and capture you, take you both alive. He killed Carter because he was angry with him. A stupid, vengeful fool. He is dead, and I'm glad of it." My mind was on Miko's plans. I ventured, "This treasure on the moon? Did you say it was on the moon?" "Don't play the fool," he retorted. "I know as much about Grantline as you do." "That's very little." "Perhaps. Perhaps you know more, Miko. The moon is a big place. Where, for instance, is Grantline located?" I held my breath. Would he tell me that? A score of questions, vague plans were in my mind. How skilled at mathematics were these brigands? Miko, Coniston, Hahn, could I fool them? If I could learn Grantline's location on the moon and keep the Planetara away from it. A pretended error of charting, time lost, and perhaps Snap could find an opportunity to signal Earth, get help. Miko answered my question as bluntly as I asked it. "I don't know where Grantline is located, but we will find out. He will not suspect the Planetara, so when we get close to the moon, we will signal and ask him. We can trick him into telling us. You think I do not know what is on your mind, Haljan? There's a secret code of signals arranged between Dean and Grantline. I have forced Dean to confess it, without torture. Prince helped me in that. He persuaded Dean not to defy me. A very persuasive fellow, George Prince. More diplomatic than I am. I give him credit for that." I strove to hold my voice calm. "If I should join you, Miko, my word, if I ever gave it, you would find dependable. I would say George Prince is very valuable to us. You should rein your temper. He's half your size. You might sometime, without intention, do him injury." He laughed. "Moa says so, but have no fear." "I was thinking," I persisted, "I'd like to have a talk with George Prince." My pounding, tumultuous heart. But I was smiling calmly, and I tried to put into my voice a shrewd note of cupidity. "I really know very little about this treasure, Miko. If there were 1,000,000 or 2 of gold leaf in it for me, perhaps there would be. Suppose you let me have a talk with Prince. I have some scientific knowledge myself about the powers of this catalyst. Prince's knowledge and mine, we might be able to come to a calculation on the value of Grantline's treasure. You don't know, you're only assuming." I paused after this glib outburst. Whatever may have been in Miko's mind, I cannot say, but abruptly he stood up. I had left my bunk, but he waved me back. "Sit down. I'm not like Moa. I would not trust you just because you protested you would be loyal." He picked up his cylinder. "We will talk again. He gestured to the scrolls he had left upon my desk. "Work on those. I will judge you by the results." He was no fool, this brigand leader. "Yes," I agreed. "You want a true course to the asteroid?" "Yes. And by the gods, I warn you, I can check up on you." I said meekly, "Very well. But you ask Prince if he wants my calculations on Grantline's possibilities." I shot Miko a foxy look as he stood by the door. I added, "You think you're clever. There is plenty you don't know. Our first night out from Earth, Grantline signals? Didn't it ever occur to you that I might have some figures on his treasure?" It startled him. "Where are they?" I tapped my forehead. "You don't suppose I was foolish enough to record them? You ask Prince if he wants to talk to me. 100 million or 200 million. It would make a big difference, Miko." "I will think about it." He backed out and sealed the door upon me. But Anita did not come. I verified Han's figures, which were very nearly correct. I charted a course for the asteroid. It was almost the one which had been set. Coniston came for my results. "I say, we're not so bad as navigators, are we? I think we're jolly good considering our inexperience. Not bad at all, eh?" "No." I did not think it wise to ask him about Prince. "Are you hungry, Haljan?" "Yes." A steward came with a meal. The Saturnin Han stood at my door with a weapon upon me while I ate. They were taking no chances, and they were wise not to. The day passed, day and night, all the same of aspect here in the starry vault of space. But with the ship's routine, it was day, and then another time of sleep. I slept fitfully, worrying, trying to plan. Within a few hours, we would be nearing the asteroid. The time of sleep was nearly past. My chronometer marked 5 a.m. original Earth starting time. The seal of my cubby door hissed. The door slowly opened. Anita. She stood there with her cloak around her. A distance away on the shadowed deck, Coniston was loitering. "Anita," I whispered it. "Gregg, dear." She turned and gestured to the watching brigand. "I will not be long, Coniston." She came in and half closed the door upon us, leaving it open enough so that we could make sure that Coniston did not advance. I stepped back where he could not see us. "Anita!" She flung herself into my opened arms. End of Chapter 14. Recording by Bob LeDrew, Ottawa, Ontario. See my blog at http://translucid.ca.
15 of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Amy Graymore. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 15. A moment when, beyond the thought of the nearby brigand, or the possibility of an eavesdropping ray trained now upon my cubby. A moment while Anita and I held each other and whispered those things which could mean nothing to the world, but which were all the world to us. Then it was she whose wits brought us back from the shining fairyland of our love into the sinister reality of the Planetara. "Gregg, if they are listening!" I pushed her away, this brave little masquerader. Not for my life or for all the lives on the ship would I consciously have endangered her. "But Grantline's findings," I said aloud, "and this message, see here, Prince." Coniston was too far away on the deck to hear us. Anita went to my door again and waved at him reassuringly. I put my ear to the door opening and listened at the space across the grid of the ventilator over my bunk. The hum of a vibration would have been audible at those 2 points, but there was nothing. "It's all right," I whispered, and she clung to me, so small beside me. With the black robe thrown aside, it seemed that I could not miss the curves of her woman's figure. A dangerous game she was playing. Her hair had been cut short to the base of her neck, in the fashion of her dead brother. Her eyelashes had been clipped, the line of her brows altered. And now, in the light of my tube as it shone upon her earnest face, I could remark other changes. Glutz, the little beauty specialist, was in this secret. With plastic skill he had altered the set of her jaw, put masculinity here. She was whispering, It was poor George, whom Miko shot." I had now the true version of what had occurred. Miko had been forcing his wooing upon Anita. George Prince was a weakling whose only good quality was his love for his sister. Some years ago he had fallen into evil ways, been arrested, and then been discharged from his position with the Federated Corporation. He had taken up with evil companions in Greater New York, mostly Martians, and Miko had met him. His technical knowledge, his training with the Federated Corporation, made him valuable to Miko's enterprise, and so Prince had joined the Brigands. Of all this Anita had been unaware. She had never liked Miko, feared him, but it seemed that the Martian had some hold upon her brother which puzzled and frightened Anita. Then Miko had fallen in love with her. George had not liked it, and that night on the Planetara, Miko had come and knocked upon Anita's door, and incautiously she had opened it. He forced himself in, and when she repulsed him, struggled with him, George had been awakened. She was whispering to me now. My room was dark. We were all three struggling. George was holding me. The shot came, and I screamed. And Miko had fled, not knowing whom his shot had hit in the darkness. And when George died, Captain Carter wanted me to impersonate him. We planned it with Dr. Frank, to try and learn what Miko and the others were doing, because I didn't know that poor George had fallen into such evil ways. She whispered, "But I love you, Gregg. I want to be the first to say it. I love you. I love you." We had the sanity to try and plan. "Anita, tell Miko we discussed the multiple powers of the catalyst. Discussed how carefully it would have to be transported, how to gauge its worth. You'll have to be careful, clever. Don't say too much. Tell him we estimate the value at about 130 millions." I repeated what Miko had told me of his plans. She knew all that. And Snap knew it. She had a few moments alone with Snap, and gave me now a message from him. "We'll pull out of this, Gregg." With Snap she had worked out a plan. There were Snap and I, and Shac and Dud Ardley, upon whom we could doubtless depend, and Dr. Frank. Against us were Miko and his sister, and Coniston and Hahn. Of course there were members of the crew, but we were numerically the stronger when it came to true leadership. Unarmed and guarded now. But if we could break loose, recapture the ship. I sat listening to Anita's eager whispers. It seemed feasible. Miko did not altogether trust George Prince. Anita was now unarmed. But I can make opportunity. I can get one of their ray cylinders and an invisible cloak equipment. That cloak that had been hidden in Miko's room when Carter searched for it in A20 was now in the chart room by Johnson's body. It had been repaired now. Anita thought she could get possession of it. We worked out the details of the plan. Anita would arm herself and come and release me. Together, with a paralyzing ray, we would creep about the ship, overcome these brigands one by one. There were so few of the leaders. With them felled, and with us in control of the turret and the radio room, we could force the crew to stay at their posts. There were, Anita said, no navigators among Miko's crew. They would not dare oppose us. But it should be done at once, Anita. In a few hours we will be at the asteroid. Yes, I will go now and try to get the weapons. Where is Snap? Still in the radio room. One of the crew guards him. Coniston was roaming the ship. He was still loitering on the deck, watching my door. Hahn was in the turret. The morning watch of the crew were at their posts in the hull corridors. The stewards were preparing a morning meal. There were 9 members of subordinates altogether, Anita had calculated. 6 of them were in Miko's pay. The other 3, our own men who had not been killed in the fighting, had joined the brigands. And Dr. Frank, Anita. He was in the lounge. All the passengers were herded there, with Miko and Moa alternating on the guard. "I will arrange it with Venza," Anita whispered softly. "She will tell the others. Dr. Frank knows about it. He thinks it can be done." The possibility of it swept me anew. The brigands were of necessity scattered singly about the ship. One by one, creeping under cover of an invisible cloak, I could fell them, and replace them without alarming others. My thoughts leaped to it. We would strike down the guard in the radio room, release Snap. At the turret we could assail Hahn and replace him with Snap. Coniston's voice outside broke in upon us. "Prince." He was coming forward. Anita stood in the doorway. "I have the figures, Coniston. By God, this Haljan is with us, and clever. We think it will total 130 millions. What a stake." She whispered, "Gregg dear, I'll be back soon. We can do it. Be ready." "Anita, be careful of yourself. If they should suspect you." "I'll be careful. In an hour, Gregg, or less. I'll come back. All right, Coniston. Where is Miko? I want to see him." "Stay where you are, Haljan. In good time Miko will trust you with your liberty. You'll be rich like all of us. Never fear." She swaggered out upon the deck, waved at the brigand, and banged my cubby door in my face. I sat upon my bunk waiting. Would she come back? Would she be successful? End of chapter 15.
Of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 16. She came. I suppose it was no more than an hour. It seemed an eternity of apprehension. There was the slight hissing of the seal of my door. The panel slid. I had leapt from my bunk, where in the darkness I was lying tense. "Prince?" I did not dare say Anita. "Gregg?" Her voice. My gaze swept the deck as the panel opened. Neither Coniston nor anyone else was in sight, save Anita's dark-robed figure, which came into my room. "You got it?" I asked in a low whisper. I held her for an instant, kissed her, but she pushed me away with quick hands. She was breathless. "Yes, I have it. Give us a little light. We must hurry." In the blue dimness I saw that she was holding one of the Martian cylinders, the smaller size. It would paralyze, but not kill. "Only one, Anita?" "Yes, and this." The invisible cloak. We laid it on my grid, and I adjusted its mechanism. I donned it, and drew its hood, and threw on its current. "All right, Anita?" "Yes." "Can you see me?" "No." She stepped back a foot or two. "Not from here. But you must let no one approach too close." Then she came forward, put out her hand, fumbled until she found me. It was our plan to have me follow her out. Anyone observing us would see only the robed figure of the supposed George Prince, and I would escape unnoticed. The situation about the ship was almost unchanged. Anita had secured the weapon and the cloak and slipped away to my cubby without being observed. "You are sure of that?" "I think so, Gregg. I was careful." Moa was now in the lounge, guarding the passengers. Hahn was asleep in the chart room. Coniston was in the turret. Coniston would be off duty presently, Anita said, with Hahn taking his place. There were lookouts in the forward and stern watch towers, and a guard upon Snap in the radio room. "Is he inside the room, Anita?" "Snap? Yes. No, the guard. The guard was sitting on the spider bridge at the door." This was unfortunate. That guard could see all the deck clearly. He might be suspicious of George Prince wandering around. It would be difficult to get near enough to assail him. This cylinder, I knew, had an effective range of only some 20 feet. "Coniston is the sharpest, Gregg. He will be the hardest to get near. Where is Miko?" The brigand leader had gone below a few moments ago, down into the hull corridor. Anita had seized the opportunity to come to me. "We can attack Hahn in the chart room first," I whispered. "And get the other weapons. Are they still there?" "Yes. But the forward deck is very bright, Gregg." We were approaching the asteroid. Already its light, like a brilliant moon, was brightening the forward deck space. It made me realize how much haste was necessary. We decided to go down into the hull corridors, locate Miko, fell him, and hide him. His non-appearance back on deck would, very soon, throw the others into confusion, especially now with our impending landing on the asteroid. And, under cover of this confusion, we would try to release Snap. We were ready. Anita slid my door open. She stepped through, with me soundlessly scurrying after her. The empty, silent deck was alternately dark with shadow patches and bright with blobs of starlight. A sheen of the sun's corona mingled with it, and from forward came the radiance of the asteroid's mellow silver glow. Anita turned to seal my door. With my faintly humming cloak, I stood beside her. Was I invisible in this light? Almost directly over us, close under the dome, the lookout sat in his little tower. He gazed down at Anita. Amidships, high over the cabin superstructure, the radio room hung dark and silent. The guard on its bridge was visible. He too looked down. A tense instant. Then I breathed again. There was no alarm. The two guards answered Anita's gesture. Anita said aloud into my empty cubby, "Miko will come for you presently, Haljan. He told me that he wants you at the turret controls to land us on the asteroid." She finished sealing my door and turned away, started forward along the deck. I followed. My steps were soundless in my elastic-bottomed shoes. Anita swaggered with a noisy tread. Near the door of the smoking room, a small incline passage led downward. We went into it. The passage was dimly blue lit. We descended its length, came to the main corridor which ran the length of the hull. A vaulted metal passage with doors to the control rooms opening from it. Dim lights showed at intervals. The humming of the ship was more apparent here. It drowned the light humming of my cloak. I crept after Anita. My hand, under the cloak, clutched the ray weapon. A steward passed us. I shrank aside to avoid him. Anita spoke to him. "Where is Miko, Ellis?" "In the ventilator room, Miss Prince. There was difficulty with the air renewal." Anita nodded and moved on. I could have felled that steward as he passed me. Oh, if only I had! How different things might have been. But it seemed needless. I let him go, and he turned into a nearby door which led to the galley. Anita moved forward. If we could come upon Miko alone... Abruptly she turned and whispered, "Gregg, if other men are with him, I'll draw him away. You watch your chance." What little things can overthrow one's careful plans! Anita had not realized how close to her I was following. And her turning so unexpectedly caused me to collide with her sharply. "Oh!" She exclaimed it involuntarily. Her outflung hand had unwittingly gripped my wrist, caught the electrode there. The touch burned her and short-circuited my robe. There was a hiss. My current burnt out the tiny fuses. My invisibility was gone. I stood, a tall, black-hooded figure, revealed to the gaze of anyone who might be near. The futile plans of humans. We had planned so carefully. Our calculations, our hopes of what we could do, came clattering now in a sudden wreckage around us. "Anita, run!" If I were seen with her, then her own disguise would probably be discovered. That, above everything, would be disaster. "Anita, get away from me! I must try it alone." I could hide somewhere, repair the cloak perhaps, or, since now I was armed, why could I not boldly start an assault? "Gregg, we must get you back to your cubby." She was clinging to me in panic. "No, you run. Get away from me. Don't you understand? George Prince has no business here with me. They'll kill you. Gregg, let's get back to the deck." I pushed at her, both of us in confusion. From behind me there came a shout. That accursed steward! He had returned, to investigate perhaps what George Prince was doing in this corridor. He heard our voices. His shout, in the silence of the ship, sounded horribly loud. The white cloaked shape of him was in the nearby doorway. He stood stricken with surprise at seeing me, and then turned to run. I fired my paralyzing cylinder through my cloak. Got him. He fell. I shoved Anita violently. "Run! Tell Miko to come. Tell him you heard a shout. He won't suspect you. But Gregg, you mustn't be found out. You're our only hope, Anita. I'll hide, fix the cloak, or get back to my cubby. We'll try again." It decided her. She scurried down the corridor. I whirled the other way. The steward's shout might not have been heard. Then realization flashed to me. That steward would be revived. He was one of Miko's men. He would be revived and tell what he had seen and heard. Anita's disguise would be revealed. A cold-blooded killing, I do protest, went against me. But it was necessary. I flung myself upon him. I beat his skull with the metal of my cylinder. I stood up. My hood had fallen back from my head. I wiped my bloody hands on my useless cloak. I had smashed the cylinder. "Haljan!" Anita's voice. A sharp note of horror and warning. I became aware that in the corridor, 40 feet down its dim length, Miko had appeared, with Anita behind him. His bullet projector was leveled. It spat at me, but Anita had pulled at his arm. The explosive report was sharply deafening in the confined space of the corridor, and with a spurt of flame, the leaden pellet struck over my head against the vaulted ceiling. Miko was struggling with Anita. "Prince, you idiot!" "Miko, it's Haljan! Don't kill him!" The turmoil brought members of the crew. From the shadowed oval near me they came running. I flung the useless cylinder at them, but I was trapped in the narrow passage. I might have fought my way out, or Miko might have shot me. But there was danger that, in her horror, Anita would betray herself. I backed against the wall. "Don't kill me! See, I will not fight!" I flung up my arms, and the crew, emboldened and courageous under Miko's gaze, leapt on me and bore me down. The futile plans of humans. Anita and I had planned so carefully. And in a few brief minutes of action, it had come only to this. End of chapter 16. Of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 17. So, Gregg Haljan, you are not as loyal as you pretend. Miko was livid with suppressed anger. They had stripped the cloak from me and flung me back in my cubby. Miko was now confronting me. At the door, Moa stood watching, and Anita was behind her. I sat outwardly defiant and sullen on my bunk, but I was tense and alert, fearful still of what Anita's emotion might betray her into doing. "Not so loyal," Miko repeated. "And a fool. How did he get out of here? Prince, you came in here." My heart was wildly thumping, but Anita retorted with a touch of spirit. "I came to tell him what you commanded, to check Hahn's latest figures and to be ready to take the controls when we approach the asteroid." "Well, how did he get out?" "How should I know?" she parried. Little actress. Her spirit helped to allay my fear. She held her cloak close around her in the fashion they had come to expect from the George Prince who had just buried his sister. "How should I know, Miko? I sealed his door." "But did you?" "Of course he did," Moa put in. "Ask your lookouts," Anita said. "They saw me. I waved to them just as I sealed the door." I ventured, "I have been taught to open doors." I managed a sly, lugubrious smile. "I shall not try it again, Miko." Nothing had been said about my killing of the steward. I thanked my constellations now that he was dead. "I shall not try it again," I repeated. A glance passed between Miko and his sister. Miko said abruptly, "You seem to realize it is not my purpose to kill you, and you presume upon it." "I shall not again." I eyed Moa. She was gazing at me steadily. She said, "Leave me with him, Miko." She smiled. "Gregg Haljan, we are no more than 20,000 miles from the asteroid now. The calculations for retarding are now in operation." It was what had taken Miko below, that and the trouble with the ventilating system, which was soon rectified. But the retarding of the ship's velocity when nearing a destination required accurate manipulation. These brigands were fearful of their own skill. That was obvious. It gave me confidence. I was really needed. They would not harm me. Except for Miko's impulsive temper, I was in no danger from them. Not now, certainly. Moa was saying, "I think I may make you understand, Gregg. We have tremendous riches within our grasp." "I know it," I said with a sudden thought. "But there are many with whom to divide this treasure." Miko caught my intended implication. "By the infernal, this fellow may have thought he could seize the treasure for himself, because he is a navigator." Moa said vehemently, "Do not be an idiot, Gregg. You could not do it. There will be fighting with Grantline." My purpose was accomplished. They seemed to see me a willing outlaw like themselves, as though it were a bond between us. "Leave him with me," said Moa. Miko acquiesced, for a few minutes only. He offered a heat ray cylinder, but she refused it. "I am not afraid of him." Miko swung on me. "Within an hour we will be nearing the atmosphere. Will you take the controls?" "Yes." He set his heavy jaw, his eyes bored into me. "You're a strange fellow, Haljan. I can't make you out. I'm not angry now. Do you think when I am deadly serious that I mean what I say?" His calm words set a sudden chill over me. I checked my smile. "Yes," I said. "Well then, I will tell you this. Not for all of Prince's well-meaning interference, or Moa's liking for you, or my own need of your skill, will I tolerate more trouble from you. The next time, I will kill you. Do you believe me?" "Yes." "That is all I want to say. You kill my men, and my sister says I must not hurt you. I am not a child to be ruled by a woman." He held his huge fist before my face. "With these fingers, I will twist your neck. Do you believe it?" Yes, I did indeed. He swung on his heel. "Moa wants to try and put sense in your head. I hope she does it. Bring him to the lounge when you have finished. Come, Prince. Hahn will need us." He chuckled grimly. "Hahn seems to fear we will plunge into this asteroid like a wild comet gone suddenly tangent." Anita moved aside to let him through the door. I caught a glimpse of her set white face as she followed him down the deck. Then Moa's bulk blocked the doorway. She faced me. "Sit where you are, Gregg." She turned and closed the door upon us. "I'm not afraid of you." "Should I be?" "No." She came and sat down beside me. "If you should attempt to leave this room, the stern lookout has orders to bore through you." "I have no intention of leaving this room," I retorted. "I do not want to commit suicide." "I thought you did. You seem minded in such a fashion. Gregg, why are you so heedless?" I said carefully, This treasure, you are many who will divide it. You have all these men on the Planetara and in Ferrok-Shahn. Others—" I paused. Would she tell me? Could I make her talk of that other brigand ship which Miko had said was waiting on Mars? I wonder if he had been able to signal it. The distance from here to Mars was great, yet upon other voyages Snap's signals had gotten through. My heart sank at the thought. Our situation here was desperate enough. The passengers would soon be cast upon the asteroid. There would be left only Snap, Anita, and myself. We might recapture the ship, but I doubted it now. My thoughts were turning to our arrival on the Moon. We three might, perhaps, be able to thwart the attack upon Grantline, hold off the brigands until help from the Earth might come. But with another brigand ship, fully manned and armed, coming from Mars, the condition would be immeasurably worse. Grantline had some 20 men, and his camp, I knew, would be reasonably fortified. I knew, too, that Johnny Grantline would fight to his last man. Moa was saying, "I would like to tell you our plans, Gregg." Her gaze was on my face. Keen eyes, but they were luminous now, an emotion in them sweeping her. But outwardly she was calm. "Well, why don't you tell me?" I said. "If I am to help." "Gregg, I want you with us. Don't you understand? And we're not many, really. My brother and I are guiding this affair. With your help, I would feel differently. The ship at Ferrok-Shahn—" My fears were realized. She said, "I think our signals reached it. Dean tried, and Coniston was checking him. You think the ship is coming?" "Yes." "Where will it join us?" "At the Moon. We will be there in 30 hours. Your figures gave that, did they not?" "Yes," I said. "And the other ship, how fast is it?" "Quite fast. In 8 days, perhaps 9, it will reach the Moon." She seemed willing enough to talk. There was indeed no reason why she shouldn't. I could not, she felt, turn the knowledge to account. Certainly my position seemed desperately helpless. "Manned?" I prompted. "About 40 men." "And armed? Long-range projectors?" "You ask very avid questions, Gregg." "Why should I not? Don't you suppose I'm interested?" I touched her. "Moa, did it ever occur to you, if once you and Miko trusted me, which you don't, I might show more interest in joining you?" The look on her face emboldened me. "Did you ever think of that, Moa? And some arrangement for my share of this treasure? I'm not like Johnson, to be hired for 100 pounds of gold leaf." "Gregg, I will see that you get your share. Riches for you and me." "I was thinking, Moa, when we land at the Moon tomorrow, where is our equipment?" The Moon, with its lack of atmosphere, needed special equipment. I had never heard Captain Carter mention what apparatus the Planetara was carrying. Moa laughed. "We have located air suits and helmets, a variety of suitable apparatus, Gregg. But we were not foolish enough to leave Greater New York on this voyage without our own apparatus. My brother and Coniston and Prince, all of us, snipped crates of freight consigned to Ferrok-Shahn. And Rankin had special baggage marked theatrical apparatus." I understood it now. These brigands had boarded the Planetara with their own Moon equipment, disguised as freight and personal baggage, shipped inbound to be inspected by the tax officials of Mars. "It's on board now. We will open it when we leave the asteroid, Gregg. We are well equipped." She bent toward me, and suddenly her long, lean fingers were gripping my shoulders. "Gregg, look at me." I gazed into her eyes. There was passion there, and her voice was intense. "Gregg, I told you once a Martian girl goes after what she wants. It is you I want. Not for me to play upon a woman's emotions. Moa, you flatter me. I love you." She held me off, gazing at me. "Gregg." I must have smiled. Abruptly she released me. "So you think it amusing?" "No, but on Earth—" "We are not on Earth, nor am I of the Earth." She was gauging me keenly. No note of pleading was in her voice. A stern authority, and the passion was swinging to anger. "I am like my brother. I do not understand you, Gregg Haljan. Perhaps you think you are clever. Perhaps." There was a moment of silence. "Gregg, I said I loved you. Have you no answer?" "No." In truth, I did not know what sort of answer would be best to make. Whatever she must have read in my eyes, it stirred her to fury. Her fingers, with the strength of a man in them, dug into my shoulders. Her gaze searched me. "You think you love someone else, is that it?" That was horribly startling, but she did not mean it just that way. She amended, with caustic venom, "That little Anita Prince. You thought you loved her, was that it?" "No!" But I hardly deceived her. Sacred to her memory, her rat-like little face, soft voice like a purring, sniveling cat. Is that what you're remembering, Gregg Haljan?" I tried to laugh. "What nonsense! Is it? Then why are you cold under my touch? Am I, a girl descended from the Martian flame workers, impotent to awaken a man?" A woman scorned. In all the universe there could be no more dangerous an enemy. An incredible venom shot from her eyes. That miserable mouse-like creature. Well for her that my brother killed her. It struck me cold. If Anita were unmasked, beyond all the menace of Miko's wooing, I knew that the venom of Moa's jealousy was a greater danger. I said sharply, "Don't be simple, Moa." I shook off her grip. "You imagine too much. You forget that I am a man of Earth and you a girl of Mars. Is that a reason why we should not love? No, but our instincts are different. Men of Earth are born to the chase." I was smiling. With thought of Anita's danger, I could find it readily in my heart to dupe this Amazon. "Give me time, Moa. You attract me." "You lie. Do you think so?" I gripped her arm with all the power of my fingers. It must have hurt her, but she gave no sign. Her gaze clung to me steadily. "I don't know what to think, Gregg Haljan." I held my grip. "Think what you like. Men of Earth have been known to kill the thing they love." "You want me to fear you?" "Perhaps." She smiled scornfully. "That is absurd." I released her. I said earnestly, "I want you to realize that if you treat me fairly, I can be of great advantage to this venture. There will be fighting. I'm fearless." Her venomous expression was softening. "I think that is true, Gregg. And you need my navigating skill. Even now I should be in the turret." I stood up. I half expected she would stop me, but she did not. I added, "Shall we go?" She stood beside me. Her height brought her face level with mine. "I think you will cause no more trouble, Gregg." "Of course not. I'm not wholly witless." "You have been." "Well, that is over." I hesitated. Then I added, "A man of Earth does not yield to love while there is work to do. This treasure—" I think that of everything I said, this last most convinced her. She interrupted, "That I understand." Her eyes were smoldering. "When it is over, when we are rich, then I will claim you, Gregg." She turned from me. "Are you ready?" "Yes." "No, I must get that sheet of Hahn's last figures." "Are they checked?" "Yes. I picked the sheet up from my desk. Hahn is fairly accurate, Moa." "A fool, nevertheless. An apprehensive fool." A comradeship seemed to be coming between us. It was my purpose to establish it. "Are we going to maroon Dr. Frank with the passengers?" I asked. "Yes. But he may be of use to us." Moa shook her head decisively. "My brother has decided not. We will be well rid of Dr. Frank. Are you ready, Gregg?" "Yes." She opened the door. Her gesture reassured the lookout, who was alertly watching the stern watchtower. I stepped out and followed her along the deck, which was now bright with the radiance of the nearby asteroid. End of chapter 17. Of Brigands of the Moon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Brigands of the Moon by Ray Cummings. Chapter 18. A fair little world. I had thought so before, and I thought so now as I gazed at the asteroid hanging so close before our bow. A huge, thin crescent with the sun off to one side behind it. A silver crescent tinged with red. From this near vantage point, all of the little globe's disc was visible. The seas lay in gray patches. The convexity of the disc was sharply defined. So small a world, fair and beautiful, shrouded with clouded areas. "Where is Miko?" "In the lounge, Gregg. Can we stop there?" Moa turned into the lounge archway. Strange, tense scene. I saw Anita at once. Her robed figure lurked in an inconspicuous corner. Her eyes were upon me as Moa and I entered, but she did not move. The 30-odd passengers were huddled in a group. Solemn, white-faced men, frightened women. Some of them were sobbing. One Earth woman, a young widow, sat holding her little girl and wailing with uncontrolled hysteria. The child knew me. As I appeared now, with my gold-laced white coat over my shoulders, the little girl seemed to see in my uniform a mark of authority. She left her mother and ran to me. "You, please, will you help us? My mom is crying." I sent her gently back, but there came upon me then a compassion for these innocent passengers, fated to have embarked on this ill-fated voyage. Herded here in this cabin with brigands like pirates of old guarding them, waiting now to be marooned on an uninhabited asteroid roaming in space. A sense of responsibility swept me. I swung upon Miko. He stood with a nonchalant grace, lounging against the wall with a cylinder dangling in his hand. He anticipated me and was the first to speak. "So, Haljan, she has put some sense into your head? No more trouble? Then get to the turret. Moa, stay there with him. Send Hahn here. Where is that ass, Coniston? We will be in the atmosphere shortly." I said, "No more trouble for me, Miko, but these passengers, what preparation are you making for them on the asteroid?" He stared in surprise. Then he laughed. "I am no murderer. The crew is preparing food, all we can spare, and tools. They can build themselves shelter. They'll be picked up in a few weeks." Dr. Frank was here. I caught his gaze, but he did not speak. On the lounge couches there still lay the 5 bodies. Rankin, who had been killed by Blackstone in the fight. A man passenger killed, a woman and a man wounded as well. Miko added, "Dr. Frank will take his medical supplies and will care for the wounded. There are other bodies among the crew." His gesture was deprecating. "I have not buried them. We will put them ashore. Easier that way." The passengers were all eyeing me. I said, "You have nothing to fear. I will guarantee you the best equipment we can spare." I turned to Miko. "You will give them apparatus with which to signal?" "Yes. Get to the turret." I turned away, with Moa after me. Again the little girl ran forward. "Come, speak to my Mum. She's crying." I was across the cabin from Miko. Coniston had appeared from the deck. It created a slight diversion. He joined Miko. "Wait," I said to Moa. "She is afraid of you. This is humanity." I pushed Moa back. I followed the child. I'd seen that Venza was sitting with the child's weeping mother. This was a ruse to get a word with me. I stood before the terrified woman while the child clung to my legs. I said gently, "Don't be frightened. Dr. Frank will take care of you. There is no danger. You'll be safer on the asteroid than here on the ship." I leant down and touched her shoulder. "There is no danger." I was between Venza and the open cabin. Venza whispered swiftly, "When are we landing, Gregg? I want you to make a commotion. Anything. Just as the women go ashore." "Why? Of course you will have food, Miss Francis. Never mind details. An instant. Just confusion. Go, Gregg. Don't speak now." I raised the child. "You take care of Mother." I kissed her. From across the cabin, Miko's sardonic voice made me turn. "Touching sentimentality, Haljan. Get to your post in the turret." His rasping note of annoyance brooked no delay. I set the child down. I said, "I will land us in an hour. Depend on it." Hahn was at the controls where Moa and I reached the turret. "You will land us safely, Haljan?" he demanded anxiously. I pushed him away. "Miko wants you in the lounge." "You take command here?" "Yes. I'm no more anxious for a crash than you are, Hahn." He sighed with relief. "That is true, of course. I am no expert at atmospheric entry. Have no fear. Sit down, Moa." I waved to the lookout in the forward watchtower and got his routine gesture. I rang the corridor bells and the normal signals came promptly back. I turned to Hahn. "Get along, won't you? Tell Miko that things are all right here." Hahn's small dark figure, lithe as a leopard in his tight-fitting trousers and jacket with his robe now discarded, went swiftly down the spider incline and across the deck. "Moa, where is Snap? By the infernal, if he has been injured—" Up on the radio room bridge, the brigand guard still sat. Then I saw that Snap was out there sitting with him. I waved from the turret window, and Snap's cheery gesture answered me. His voice carried down through the silver moonlight. "Land us safely, Gregg. These weird amateur navigators." Within the hour, I had us dropping into the asteroid's atmosphere. The ship heated steadily. The pressure went up. It kept me busy with the instruments and the calculations. But my signals were always promptly answered from below. The brigand crew did its part efficiently. At 150,000 feet, I shifted the gravity plates to the landing combinations and started the electronic engines. "All safe, Gregg?" Moa sat at my elbow. Her eyes, with what seemed a glow of admiration in them, followed my busy routine activities. "Yes, the crew works well." The electronic streams flowed out like a rocket tail behind us. The Planetara caught their impetus. In the rarefied air, our bow lifted slightly, like a ship riding a gentle ground swell. At 100,000 feet we sailed gently forward, hull down to the asteroid's surface, cruising to seek a landing space. A little sea was now beneath us, a shadowed sea, deep purple in the night down there. Occasional verdurous islands showed, with the lines of white surf marking them. Beyond the sea, a curving coastline was visible, rocky headlands, behind which mountain foothills rose in serrated, verdurous ranks. The sunlight edged the distant mountains, and presently this rapidly turning little world brought the sunlight forward. It was day beneath us. We slid gently downwards, 30,000 feet now, above a sparkling blue ocean. The coastline was just ahead, green with a lush tropical vegetation. Giant trees, huge-leaved, long dangling vines, air plants with giant pods and vivid orchid-like blossoms. I sat at the turret window, staring through my glasses. A fair little world, yet obviously uninhabited. I could fancy that this was all newly sprung vegetation. This asteroid had whirled in from the cold of the interplanetary space, far outside the solar system. A few years ago, as time might be measured astronomically, it was no more than yesterday. This fair landscape was congealed white and bleak, with a sweep of glacial ice. But the seeds of life miraculously were here. The miracle of life. Under the warming, germinating sunlight, the verdure had sprung. "Can you find a landing space, Gregg?" Moa's question brought back my wandering fancies. I saw an upland glade, a level spread of ferns with the forest banked around it. A cliff height nearby, frowning down at the sea. "Yes, I can land us there." I showed her through the glasses. I rang the sirens, and we spiraled, descending further. The mountain tops were now close beneath us. Clouds were overhead, white masses with blue sky behind them. A day of brilliant sunlight. But soon, with our forward cruising, it was night. The sunlight dropped beneath the sharply convex horizon. The sea and the land went purple. A night of brilliant stars. The Earth was a blazing blue-red point of light. The heavens visibly were revolving. In an hour or so it would be daylight again. On the forward deck now, Coniston had appeared, commanding half a dozen of the crew. They were carrying up caskets of food and the equipment which was to be given to the marooned passengers, and making ready the disembarking incline, losing the seals of the side dome windows. Sternward on the deck by the lounge oval I could see Miko standing, and occasionally the roar of his voice at the passengers sounded. My vagrant thoughts flung back to Earth's history. Like this, ancient travelers of the surface of the sea were herded by pirates to walk the plank, or to be put ashore, marooned upon some fair desert island of the tropic Spanish main. Hahn came mounting our turret incline. "All is well, Gregg Haljan?" "Get to your work," Moa told him sharply. He retreated, joining the bustle and confusion which now was beginning on the deck. It struck me. Could I turn that confusion to account? Would it be possible, now at the last moment, to attack these brigands? Snap still sat outside the radio room doorway, but his guard was alert with upraised projector. And that guard, I saw, in his position, commanded all the deck. And I saw, too, as the passengers now were herded in a line from the lounge oval, that Miko had roped and bound all of the men. A clanking chain connected them. They came like a line of convicts marching forwards, and stopped on the open deck near the base of the turret. Dr. Frank's grim face gazed up at me. Miko ordered the women and children in a group beside the chained men. His words to them reached me. "You're in no danger. When we land, be careful. You will find gravity very different. This is a very small world." I flung on the landing lights. The deck glowed with the blue radiance. The search beams shot down beside our hull. We hung now 1,000 feet above the forest glade. I cut off the electronic streams. We poised, with the gravity plate set at normal, and only a gentle night breeze to give us a slight drift. This I could control with the lateral propeller rudders. For all my busy landing routine, my mind was on other things. Venza's swift words back there in the lounge. I was to create a commotion while the passengers were landing. Why, had she and Dr. Frank some last-minute desperate purposes? I determined I would do what she said. Shout or misorder the lights. That would be easy. I was glad it was night. I had, indeed, calculated our descent so that the landing would be in darkness. But to what purpose? These brigands were very alert. There was nothing I could think of to do which would avail us anything more than a probable swift death under Miko's anger. "Well done, Gregg," said Moa. I cut off the last of the propellers. With scarcely a perceptible jar, the Planetara grounded, rose like a feather, and settled to rest in the glade. The deep purple night with stars overhead was around us. I hissed out our interior air through the dome and hull ports and admitted the night air of the asteroid. My calculations, of necessity mere mathematical approximations, proved fairly accurate. In temperature and pressure there was no radical change as the dome windows slid back. We had landed. Whatever Venza's purpose, her moment was at hand. I was tense, but I was aware also that beside me Moa was very alert. I had thought her unarmed. She was not. She sat back from me. In her hand was a long, thin knife blade. She murmured tensely, "You've done your part, Gregg. Well and skillfully done. Now we will sit here quietly and watch them land." Snap's guard was standing, keenly watching. The lookouts in the forward and stern towers were also armed. I could see them both gazing keenly down at the confusion of the blue-lit deck. The incline went over the hull side and touched the ground. "Enough!" Miko roared. "The men first. Hahn, move the women back. Coniston, pile those caskets to the side. Get out of the way, Prince." Anita was down there. I saw her at the edge of the group of women. Venza was near her. Miko shoved her. "Get out of the way, Prince. You can help Coniston. Have the things ready to throw off." 5 of the steward crew were at the head of the incline. Miko shouted up at me, "Haljan, hold our shipboard gravity normal." "Yes." The line of men were the first to descend. Dr. Frank led them. He flashed a look of farewell up at me and Snap as he went down the incline with the chained men passengers after him. A motley procession. 20-odd disheveled, half-clothed men of these worlds. The changing, lightning gravity on the incline caught them. Dr. Frank bounded up to the rail under the impetus of his step, caught and held himself, and drew himself back. The line swayed. In the dim, blue-lit glare it seemed unreal, crazy. A grotesque dream of men descending a plank. They reached the forest glade, stood swaying, afraid at first to move. The purple night crowded them. They stood gazing at this strange world, their new prison. "Now the women!" Miko was shoving the women to the head of the incline. I could feel Moa's gaze upon me. A knife gleamed in the turret light. She murmured again, "In a few moments you can bring us away, Gregg." I felt like an actor awaiting his cue in the wings of some turgid drama, the plot of which he did not know. Venza was near the head of the incline. Some of the women and children were on it. A woman screamed. Her child had slipped from her hand, bounded up over the rail and fallen. Hardly fallen. Floated down to the ground, with flailing arms and legs, landing in the dark ferns unharmed. Its terrified wail came up. There was a confusion on the incline. Venza, still on the deck, seemed to send a look of appeal to the turret. My cue? I slid my hand to the light switchboard. It was near my knees. I pulled a switch. The blue-lit deck beneath the turret went dark. I recall an instant of horrible, tense silence, and in the gloom beside me I was aware of Moa moving. I felt a thrill of instinctive fear. Would she plunge the knife into me? The silence of the darkened deck was broken with a confusion of sounds, a babble of voices, a woman passenger's scream, shuffling feet, and above it all Miko's roar. "Stand quiet, everyone! No movement!" On the descending incline there was chaos. The disembarking women were clinging to the gangway. Some of them had evidently surged forward and fallen. Down on the ground, in the purple shadowed starlight, I could vaguely see the chained line of men. They too were in confusion, trying to shove themselves towards the fallen women. Miko roared, "Light those tubes, Gregg Haljan! By the Almighty! Moa, are you up there? What is wrong? The light tubes!" Dark drama of unknown plot. I wondered if I should try and leave the turret. Where was Anita? She had been down there on the deck when I flung out the lights. I think 20 seconds would have covered it all. I had not moved. I thought, is Snap concerned with this? Moa's knife could have stabbed me. I felt her lunge against me, and suddenly I was gripping her, twisting her wrist. But she flung the knife away. Her strength was almost the equal of my own. Her hand went for my throat, and with the other hand she was fumbling. The deck abruptly sprang into light again. Moa had found the switch and threw it back. She fought me as I tried to reach the switch. I saw down on the deck. Miko was gazing up at us. Moa panted, "Gregg, stop! If he sees you doing this, he'll kill you." The scene down there was almost unchanged. I had answered my cue. To what purpose? I saw Anita near Miko. The last of the women were on the plank. I had stopped struggling with Moa. She sat back, panting, and then she called, "Sorry, Miko. It will not happen again." Miko was in a towering rage, but he was too busy to bother with me. His anger swung on those nearest him. He shoved the last of the women violently at the incline. She bounded over. Her body, with the gravity pull of only a few Earth pounds, sailed in an arc and dropped near the swaying line of men. Miko swung back. "Get out of my way!" A sweep of his huge arm knocked Anita sideways. "Prince, damn you! Help me with those boxes!" The frightened stewards were lifting the boxes. Square metal storage chests, each as long as a man, packed with food, tools and equipment. "Here, get out of my way, all of you!" My breath came again. Anita nimbly retreated before Miko's angry rush. He dashed at the stewards. 3 of them held a box. He took it from them, raised it at the top of the incline, poised it over his head for an instant, with his massive arms like gray pillars beneath it, and flung it. The box catapulted, dropped, and then, passing the Planetara's gravity area, it sailed in a long flat arc over the forest glade and crashed into the purple underbrush. "Give me another!" The stewards pushed another at him. Like an angry titan he flung it, and another. One by one the chests sailed outward and crashed. "There is your food. Go pick it up. Haljan, make ready to ring us away." On the deck lay the dead body of Rance Rankin, which the stewards had carried out. Miko seized it, flung it. "There, go to your last resting place." And the other bodies, Balk, Blackstone, Captain Carter, Johnson, Miko flung them all. And the course masters and those of our crew who had been killed. The passengers were all on the ground now. It was dim down there. I tried to distinguish Venza, but could not. I could see Dr. Frank's figure at the end of the chained line of men. The passengers were gazing in horror at the bodies hurtling over them. "Ready, Haljan?" Moa prompted me. "Tell him yes." I called, "Yes!" Had Venza failed in her unknown purpose? It seemed so. On the radio room bridge, Snap and his guard stood like silent statues in the blue-lit gloom. The disembarkation was over. "Close the ports!" Miko commanded. The incline came folding up with a clatter. The port and dome windows slid closed. Moa hissed against my ear, "If you want life, Gregg Haljan, you will start your duties." Venza had failed. Whatever it was, it had come to nothing. Down in the purple forest, disconnected now from the ship, the last of our friends stood marooned. I could distinguish them through the blur of the closed dome. Only a swaying, huddled group was visible. But my fancy pictured this last sight of them. Dr. Frank, Venza, Shac, and Dud Ardley. They were gone. There were left only Snap, Anita, and myself. I was mechanically ringing us away. I heard my siren sounding down below, with the answering clangs here in the turret. The Planetara's respiratory controls started, the pressure equalizers began operating, and the gravity plates began shifting into lifting combinations. The ship was hissing and quivering with it, combined with the grating of the last of the dome ports, and Miko's command, "Lift, Haljan!" Hahn had been mingling with the confusion of the deck, though I'd hardly noticed him. Coniston had remained below with the crew answering my signals. Hahn stood now with Miko gazing down through a deck window. Anita was alone at another. "Lift, Haljan!" I lifted up gently, bow first, with a repulsion of the bow plates, and started the central electronic engine. Its thrust from the stern moved us diagonally over the purple forest trees. The glade slid downward and away. I caught a last vague glimpse of the huddled group of marooned passengers, staring up at us, left to their fate, alone on this deserted world. With the 3 engines going, we slid smoothly upward. The forest dropped, a purple spread of treetops edged with starlight and Earthlight. The sharply curving horizon seemed to follow us upward. I swung on all the power. We mounted at a 40-degree angle, slowly circling, with the bank of clouds over us to the side, and the shining little sea beneath. "Very good, Gregg." In the turret light, Moa's eyes blazed at me. "I do not know what you meant by darkening the deck lights." Her fingers dug at my shoulders. "But I will tell my brother it was an error." I said, "An error, yes. I didn't know what it was, but you have me to deal with. You understand? I will tell my brother so. You said on Earth a man may kill the thing he loves. A woman of Mars may do that. Beware of me, Gregg Haljan." Her passion-filled eyes bored into me. Love? Hate? The venom of a woman scorned. A mingling of turgid emotions. I twisted back from her grip and ignored her. She sat back, silently watching my busy activities. The calculations of the shifting conditions of gravity, pressures, temperatures, a checking of the instruments on the board before me. Mechanical routine. My mind went back to Venza. Back there on the asteroid. The wandering little world was already shrinking to a convex surface beneath us. Venza with her last unknown play, gone to failure. Had I missed my cue? Whatever my part, it seemed now that I must have horribly misacted it. The crescent Earth was presently swinging over our bow. We rocketed out of the asteroid's shadow. The glowing, flaming sun appeared, making the crescent of the Earth. With the glass I could see our tiny moon, visually seeming to hug the limb of its parent Earth. We were on our course to the moon. My mind flung ahead. Grantline with his treasure, unsuspecting this brigand ship. And suddenly, beyond all thought of Grantline, there came to me a fear for Anita. In God's truth, I had been, so far, a very stumbling, inept champion, doomed to failure with everything I tried. Why had I not contrived to have Anita desert at the asteroid? Would it have not been far better for her there, taking her chance for rescue with Dr. Frank, Venza and the others? But no, I had, like a fool, never thought of that. Had let her remain here on board at the mercy of these outlaws. And I swore now that beyond everything I would protect her. Futile oath, if I could have seen ahead a few hours. But I sensed the catastrophe. There was a shudder within me as I sat in that turret, docilely guarding us through the asteroid's atmosphere, heading us upon our course for the moon. End of chapter 18.